The message came in while I was reviewing a set of new gemstone acquisitions. My phone buzzed once on the desk, the screen lighting briefly before going dark again. I didn't check it immediately. Most messages during work hours were routine: suppliers, logistics, shipping confirmations. It could wait. A few minutes later, when the room went quiet and the last call ended, I picked it up. It was from my brother. "Borrowed your cheap necklace for my date. Thanks." A photo followed. He was sitting at a restaurant table across from a woman I didn't recognize. She was smiling toward the camera, leaning slightly forward. Around her neck was a deep blue sapphire necklace, heavy and unmistakable under the warm lighting of the restaurant. For a moment I simply looked at it. There are objects you recognize the way you recognize someone's handwriting. Instantly, without effort. Inventory item FEN4 429. I had cataloged it myself 3 days earlier. It was a historic sapphire piece, acquired from a private estate sale. Cut stones arranged in a curved platinum setting, the kind of design that carried both rarity and age. The appraisal report sat on my desk in a thin folder. $2 million. My brother believed it was costume jewelry. That part didn't surprise me. Growing up, he had always spoken about my business with the same tone people use for hobbies. Her little jewelry thing. Her boutique. Even after the company grew, even after we began working with collectors and private buyers, the language never changed. To him it was still small, decorative, harmless. Which meant my possessions were small too. Borrowable. The necklace had been at my house only temporarily. We had moved several pieces from the vault for an upcoming private showing, and I had taken one case home while the showroom was being reorganized. It should have been in the safe. Instead, apparently, it had been hanging in my closet when he stopped by the previous afternoon. I read the message again. "Borrowed your cheap necklace." Cheap, I typed a reply. Have fun. I watched the words appear in the message thread. Neutral. Friendly. Nothing in them suggested anything unusual. Then I set the phone down and sat back in the chair. The office window reflected the late afternoon light across the room. Papers were stacked neatly on the table, and the open appraisal report was still sitting where I'd left it. There was a moment, brief but very clear, when I considered calling him. I imagined the conversation easily enough. "You took the wrong necklace. Bring it back tonight." He would apologize casually, maybe laugh about it. The story would end there. And somewhere inside that version of events was the same pattern that had existed for most of our adult lives. Small boundaries blurred. Money borrowed and slowly forgotten. Things assumed. The business had changed my life, but it had never quite changed how my family viewed it. Or how they viewed me. I reached for the office phone instead of my cell. When my security manager answered, my voice sounded the same as it did during any routine call. "I need to report a missing item from private inventory," I said. He paused, already shifting into procedure. "Which piece?" "Item number 4429. I heard the quiet click of a keyboard. "That's the sapphire necklace." "Yes!" "Last confirmed location. My residence yesterday evening." "Do you believe it was stolen?" I looked again at the photo my brother had sent. The necklace caught the restaurant lighting in a deep blue glow against the woman's collarbone. "Yes," I said calmly. "Reported as taken without authorization." There was no argument after that. Only process. Inventory records were attached. The appraisal documentation was forwarded. Insurance notifications began automatically once the report was logged. By the time the call ended, the situation had already moved beyond something personal. Across the city, my brother was probably finishing dinner. I imagined him leaning back in his chair, pleased with the effect of the necklace. Pleased with the small performance of success it created. Borrowed appearances had always been easy for him. I returned to work. Emails, shipment confirmations, a design consultation scheduled for the following week. Time passed quietly. About 40 minutes later my phone rang again. "Police have located the item," my security manager said. Restaurant reservation matched the information you provided. There was a brief pause. They're retrieving it now. I pictured the moment without really trying to. 2 officers approaching a table. A polite request. A sapphire necklace lifted from someone's neck under bright restaurant lights. Confusion spreading across my brother's face as the language shifted from casual borrowing to something official. Reported stolen property, documentation, verification. The system had no interest in family explanations. "Thank you," I said. When the call ended, the office felt very still. I didn't feel satisfaction. That wasn't the right word. What I felt was something quieter. A line that had existed in theory for years had finally been enforced. Later that evening my brother called. His voice carried a strange mixture of anger and disbelief. "Why would you do that?" he asked. I didn't interrupt him while he explained the embarrassment, the confusion, the police showing up in the middle of dinner. To him it had been a misunderstanding. To the system it had been a missing $2 million asset. When he finished, there was a small silence between us. "That necklace belongs to the company," I said finally. "Not to me personally. You knew I was bringing it back." "I didn't know that." Another silence. The difference between us felt larger now, not louder, just clearer. "You could have just called," he said. "Maybe." But I realized something while listening to him. He still believed this situation lived inside the old rules. The ones where my things were flexible and consequences were optional. "I handled it the way I would handle any missing inventory," I said. The call ended shortly after. There was no shouting. No dramatic ending. Just distance. The necklace was returned the next morning through official channels, logged carefully back into the system under the same number it had always carried. Item 44429. $2 million. It now sat again inside a velvet case in the showroom vault. Nothing about the piece had changed. But something else had. Over the following weeks I noticed a subtle shift when my family spoke to me. Requests were more careful. Assumptions quieter. Not fear. Just awareness. And for the first time in years, the boundaries between my life and theirs felt unmistakably real.